right. Good evening, everyone. This is the May 8th, 2019 meeting of the Auburn Conservation Commission. Are we live or recorded?
Live streaming and recording.
So we've got it all. We're live and we're being recorded probably for posterity. The webcast can be seen at the town website, which is auburnguide.com. Before we begin tonight's meeting, I am required to ask if anyone in the audience is making a recording of this meeting. No one's saying they are. The first item on tonight's agenda is a 7 o'clock public hearing. John E. Johnson, request for reconsideration of a notice of intent for 707 Oxford Street in South. Is there a motion open? So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed to vote? Come on up.
I went and looked at this,
Yeah.
other than myself.
Okay.
Mike, that can't be seen from here because Mrs. Ross's head's in the...
Okay. I'll squish
Slide
it.
it there.
Is that better?
So, we had previously issued a negative, well, basically denied an order of conditions for this property. So can you explain to us why we should be reconsidering it at this time?
Basically, from what I read on the letter, there was concerns about, if you were to sell the lot, a builder could come in and, change the design, and then the commission wouldn't have, control of that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the case, on how the order of conditions typically works.
Mm-hmm.
If the commission were to approve the plan, the order of conditions would go along with this plan, and the building inspector would require this plan with the order of conditions to issue a building permit, and it would only be good for 3 years.
See, I think everyone's concern was the fact that Mr. Johnson has always said that he wanted to sell the property.
Yep.
And so, as you know from your own experience, when someone submits a plan to us with a structure shown on the plan, the intention is to actually construct the building or the structure that is shown on the plan. The applicant usually is the person, or their developer, or their contractor is the one that does it.
Yep.
In this case, what makes this situation a little different, I think what raised concern among members of the board was the fact that you were basically representing or showing a structure that is not going to be built by Mr. Johnson.
Potentially not, yeah.
And so, what and perhaps, maybe this is just something, this is beyond my scope of knowledge, but I'm not sure I've ever encountered a situation where a parcel of land is sold and the person who buys it is basically told, this is what the building looks like, you have to build this building according to the way the plan has been approved. I actually thought that it would be a much easier project to approve if no structure was shown on the plan. That was my thought.
I guess it would be easy to approve, but he wouldn't have really anything valuable to him to sell. No one's going to buy the lot without a house being able to be built on it.
I understand that, but you're making a representation that,
Yeah.
and again, we're just here, our jurisdiction is the wetland issues. It's not about building setbacks,
Right.
whatever the zoning requirements
Yeah.
are. And I don't know what discussions Mr. Johnson's had with either the planning board or the building inspector about the viability of this particular structure. No evidence was submitted to us that, in fact, this structure can be built on this parcel. And so, again, my issue, and I think the issue of the other members of the board, was that, you're showing a plan with a structure, but the applicant has no intention of building that structure because he intends to sell the property. You see that, you understand
No,
the
I
distinction,
understand what you're saying, but we do permitting a lot in a lot of towns, and we do, for homeowners that are trying to sell off lots, we've developed, we've got lots permitted for them so they can actually hand this plan over to a builder, and it's just easier for them. They don't have to go through this process. And he would...
On wetlands?
Yeah, and he would have to build that footprint is what he'd have to build.
Because based on your analysis, that's the only type of structure that can be built on that property.
Well, we had a 24-foot wide house
Right.
before, so we shrunk it down to 20 feet to get a little bit more of a buffer.
Uh-huh.
Was it 20 by 60?
20 by 60.
Well, they could change that
Big guarantee,
footprint, make
right.
it smaller if they wanted and go
Yeah,
up.
they
They
could make it 20 by 40, but they can't make it 24 feet wide. It has to be a 20-foot wide house.
Right.
As far as building, it meets all building requirements.
I understand.
Zoning, all that stuff. It meets the Title V. The Title V is already installed. The well's already installed. So, he's just in kind of a hardship where he bought this lot as kind of an investment for retirement money, when he retires, which he's retired now.
Right.
Put the well and septic in a long time ago. Gary Pike did it,
Mhm.
and he never sold it.
Right.
And then,
And now he wants to try and do it.
now, additional regulations have come into play, like the 25-foot, structure zone and all that stuff. That
Right.
wasn't in play when he first developed the lot.
I
so-
understand that, but he had never applied with this board beforehand.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what happened back in '92 when they put them on.
I mean, I wasn't on the board in '92, but I don't
Yeah.
think there's any record of him ever having come before the Concom, so. All right, any questions
Yeah,
from the
I
board?
have a few. I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Yep.
All right, so in 3 years this expires.
Correct.
And we don't know, okay, so the building goes in that exact space, so when
Mm-hmm.
they try and sell the lot, and as Mike said, it hasn't been approved by any of the building committees or any of that other stuff. So.
It can't
what-
be, though.
It can't.
I mean, the building inspector's not gonna approve anything because he doesn't have the order of conditions. I mean, that goes along with the building permit
But
application.
again, your representation is that this structure can be built on that property
Correct.
at the present time.
Yes.
It meets all the setback requirements, all the zoning requirements.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
You have any other questions?
No.
I mean, if Mr. Johnson can't sell this lot with that house on it, then he can't sell it.
All right.
I mean, he's not trying to pull a fast one. He's not,
Not suggesting that at all.
No, I know,
Yeah,
I just don't want the board to, I just want the board to feel comfortable that that is the project that has to happen. And if there's any changes, if a builder buys it and they want to put a house that's 30 feet wide in, they have to come back, because the building inspector's gonna get this plan with the order of conditions, sees that the order of conditions is recorded, and this plan goes along with it, so they can't sway from this plan.
My thought is that, and again, I'm only speaking for myself, if we do reconsider and grant an order of conditions for this property, it seems to me we'd have to include very specific language that what's being approved is this plan and only this plan, and that if someone does buy the property and they want to make any other changes to it, then they have to come back before the board.
Correct, yeah.
All right.
I just wanted to say too, the building department now, all the permits are online, and there is everyone has to sign off on conservation when they're doing the application. And the building inspector is very aware of any wetlands and,
Oh, sure.
he's gonna see that and he's gonna say, okay, you gotta, he's telling people they have to file or check with conservation all the time. So, I mean, I don't think this is anything that's gonna slide through that they're gonna put a different house in there. I just don't see that happening with the people we have today, or probably for the next 3 years too.
Okay.
Plus, the commission would have to do an inspection on the erosion control,
Well,
before
yeah.
they start construction.
I mean, we
Because
can
they could
also,
check the
we can
plan at
also
that
put
time.
that as a condition too.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions?
Does it have to be sold, showing that buildable lot? Does it have to be sold that way? Just
just-
because it has a sewerage and...
Well, it's really hard to sell a lot to somebody that,
Small
that doesn't know that they could, build on it. So, I mean, if the order of conditions is denied, the lot's basically worthless. And without an order of conditions, the builder's gonna say, well, I don't know if I can build on this lot, so I'm not gonna buy it. So, I mean, it's valuable to him to have an order of conditions to hand over to a builder and say, this is a house you can build, but it's approved and ready.
And what's the date of that plan?
Pretty hard.
Is it
It's the same.
4/3?
It's,
stick in my head?
10/22/18 and revised on January 24th of 19.
124.
Okay, very good. Okay. Are there any questions from the audience? Okay. In that
Was the
case,
house made smaller then at that point?
What's that?
On January, what was the revision?
Yeah, we narrowed the house from
Okay.
24 to 20 feet.
in that case, if there are no other questions, is there a motion to close?
Make a motion, we close this hearing?
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed to vote? All right, thanks for coming in.
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks.
The next item on our agenda is a 7:05 public hearing, Darrell Ravati, a notice of intent for the addition of a garage and shed on property located at 86 Rochdale Street in Auburn. Is there a motion open?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed to vote? Good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
We're well, how are you?
Good.
So you revised your plan.
We've revised the plan.
Okay.
There's been 3 changes to the plan. The first one is the two owners for 86 and 84 Rochdale Street have agreed to to do a lot line adjustment. We have moved the property line to follow the intermittent stream more closely.
Okay.
So that's been changed and updated on the plan. There was a fence that was kind of located on the backside of 84 Rochdale, kind of what appeared to be their property at the time.
Yeah.
But it was actually owned by Mr. Ravati. He was thinking about putting a fence up there. We've taken that fence off because there's no longer a need for it because the property line is moved.
Okay.
That little portion of land is now going to be owned by 84 Rochdale Street. So right in here, we just removed that one chain link fence that was proposed. And
I'm going to stop you there.
Sure.
So you're telling me there's going to be a transfer of that triangle or that section of property to the adjacent property owner?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
That was
Solves a
my
lot of
And
problems.
the A&R plan has been approved by the planning board.
Okay. All right.
And so part of the condition of the land swap that happened was there's 2 trees. So I know in the original application, we said there'd be no clearing or cutting of any of the vegetation or trees in the wetland area. There's 2 trees. I brought some pictures along, and we've showed the trees on here. So there's some concern by the owner, Stephen Donner of 84 Rochdale, that there's 2 trees. One's a cedar tree, one's a willow tree. So you guys can look at this. The willow tree is kind of dying. His concern is at some point in the future, he wants to put a shed somewhere in the backyard.
Okay.
And he's worried that the willow tree, now that willow tree is on his property, it's going to fall down, destroy his shed, and he's going to be responsible for that. And the cedar tree is leaning. Here's a picture of the cedar tree. It's leaning pretty good. I don't know if we have a good picture of it, the way it's leaning, but here's another one. It's leaning in the direction of kind of the area where he may put a shed. He wants to know if those 2 trees could be taken down and just not stump, just merely just cut and leave the
Well,
stump.
it's okay. So it's not the revised that want this; it's the adjacent property owner, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So he needs to come in to see us.
Okay.
Has that
Okay.
transferred yet? Has it transferred yet?
No.
No, the plan was, the A&R plan was approved, but they haven't
This is the
proclaimed the
wetland
deeds
here,
yet to
right?
each
Yeah,
other.
it hasn't really been
Yeah,
recorded
so that's
yet.
I
the tree right
see.
there. How do you stop?
Yeah,
I mean, I
it's
hear what
very-
you're doing.
But because it's on the separate, on the other property, he needs to do his own
I
application.
think the cleaner way to do it would be for, once that property transfer has taken place, for the owner with the trees to come in, file a request for determination, then we can address it at that point.
Okay.
Given the fact that, I mean, it doesn't sound like he wants to build a shed immediately. I'm sure he's
Right.
going to wait until the property is transferred before he starts making those plans, and so at that point, I think he can come in, and more importantly, it's not your issue or problem anymore.
Yeah, except for, I don't know if he'll do the swap without knowing
Yeah.
that the trees can come down.
Well, ma'am, I mean, I forgot my magic 8-ball, so I can't tell you,
Yeah.
you know.
Trust me, I know.
I mean, you know, there's a sort of proper way to do this, and I'm trying to figure out the proper way to do this, and that seems to be the appropriate way.
Yeah.
You know, I will tell you that if these, you know, trees pose a potential hazard to, you know, structures, then we're probably going to look at that request positively. And there's no, so there's no, of course, we had been to the property a few months ago.
Yes.
February? Maybe in January. And I know there was snow on the ground. And so there's no additional wetland impact based on these changes. I think the changes,
Yeah, no, it's just merely a property line that's really been moved, and like I said, we've removed one proposed fence.
okay.
The structure hasn't changed.
It'll be
None
more
of the
conforming
wetlands.
now. We'll have to go to zoning.
From a
board.
zoning perspective,
Set-
it's going to be more conforming just because we have a greater distance from the property line to the proposed structure. But we still have about a foot, you know, from the 25-foot no-build zone to the new structure.
Okay. All right.
I don't think I have those.
No, we don't
You
have.
can, I brought 7. You can
Oh,
Great.
wow.
have them all.
Thank you. How about the pictures? You're gonna
You can
save
have the
those-
pictures too.
So why don't you save those pictures for the RDA?
RDA, okay.
Yeah. That's smart. Any questions from the board?
Nope. There you go.
Nope.
All right.
Any questions from the audience? All right, silence. In that case, is there a motion to close?
I make a motion that we close the structure hearing for 86 Rushden Street.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Is there any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed to vote. All right, thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Good
Good to see you
night.
again.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, I can hand these out after the meeting.
Next item on our agenda is a 7:10 public hearing. A request for determination filed by Leslie Wilson for the removal of a tree within the 100-foot buffer zone on property located at 35 Island Avenue. Is there a motion open?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed to vote. Good evening.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening, Ms. Wilson.
Sir.
So tell us what you want to do.
So the tree is very close, it's within 17 feet of my home structure.
Okay.
I've already lost one, probably 30-foot limb off of it from the weather. And if you have the pictures that I sent, I don't know,
I
I had sent them in
pictures.
an email. Does she not send those forward?
Oh, so they got them and I didn't, huh?
Uh-oh.
I had actually
in the
sent
back.
forward
It
a
is in
bunch
the
of
in the
packet.
packet,
I'm
that's right.
sorry, we're just giving you a
That's
packet.
okay.
No, no worries. I'll pull them up, don't you fret.
It's fine.
I'll pass my phone around if you need them.
No, I would,
Second.
have you got them, Michael?
Yes, they're in the packet, yeah.
I've got them right here.
Here we go.
There it is. So I had a gentleman come out to give me an estimate, and he said, oh, well, as soon as the board says that you can take it down, because it is of concern for falling on your house, it is of concern, for doing damage. So I just wanted to do the right thing and come have a conversation with you about it.
And we appreciate that. How tall is the tree?
35.
Roughly 100 feet. It's up
What,
there.
is it a pine?
It's an oak.
Oh, it's an oak?
Yes.
Good wood in that oak tree.
Hence why we're just going to have it dropped.
But seriously, what is your plan after you drop it? Hauled off the site, gonna sell it for for timber?
Hauled off the site, my neighbor across the street heats his house with wood.
Oh,
so
perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Good. And you would want to do this sooner rather than later?
I would love to do it sooner rather than later, before those horrible moth
Oh,
things
don't.
come back again,
Okay.
because it's infested with them.
Point
They
taken.
love those trees.
All right, is there any discussion? All right, I'm sorry, any questions from the board? Any questions from the audience? Boy, we have a very complacent crowd tonight. All right, if there,
Sorry. You want the big ones?
I'd like to see the big
Here
ones.
you go.
Good section of it is looming over the house.
Yeah.
Dropping a lot of wood on the house.
The man that does trees for a living said it's an imminent danger.
Who are you gonna hire? Have you decided?
What's his- We have. I don't think it's in there because we hadn't made a final decision
okay.
yet. Do you remember who it was?
That's all right.
It's buried in about 500 emails.
Not a problem, not a problem at all. All
I'll
right.
certainly send that information forward if you
We
need
have it
it.
in front of our house like that, yeah.
In
So,
That's
that
what you
case,
Give them a copy of what you received from us.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
is there a motion to close?
Make a motion, we close the public hearing?
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed to vote? All right, thank you very much. We'll be making a decision tonight.
Thank you very
Oh,
much.
thank you, sir.
Thanks for your time.
Sure, take care.
If you want to call the office tomorrow, I
Okay,
can tell you
perfect.
what happened.
Thank you.
All right.
Second that.
Michelle did.
Next item on our agenda is a 7:15 PM public hearing, FW Web Company, for request for minimum order of conditions for property located at 33 Sword Street. Is there a motion open?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second that?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed to vote? Come on up. And tell us who you are.
Andy Macbeth, Greenleaf Construction, and Bill Hannigan from Hannigan Engineering.
Magic tricks.
Good evening, for the record, Bill Hannigan with Hannigan Engineering. As the board knows, or the commission knows, this project had received an order of conditions from the commission in October of 2018. Since that time, the project went through the final steps through the planning board process, got approved by the planning board, which had a condition that we go back and work out any construction details, etc., with DPW engineering. That resulted in some changes to the project. Actually, there are more improvements than anything. And so the main changes that are in the buffer zone are obviously in the back end of the site. We have added a water quality unit at the catch basin manhole connection right here prior to discharge. We've added some grading and a berm along the back side of the property, along with, I'm sorry, this is the approved one. So in this area here, we've added the water quality unit within the manhole that's proposed. We've also added the berm along the edge, and we've also added a second catch basin to pick up any of the surface flow in this area here, where it was before just draining off the property. It's now going to be picked up into a catch basin, which also acts as a water quality device. Okay. And that will then discharge to the back end of the property prior to reaching the property line. Most of the area in the back right now is paved. It's going to continue that way as we work on the project. It's going to be cleaned up significantly. A lot of the drainage that was running through these old pipes, barely getting through essentially, will now be cleaned prior to it being discharged. So there's an overall improvement to what was originally approved. As we said in our letter of April 23rd, we're acknowledging that we did come in for a previous request for this amendment. That was issued by the commission on the 13th of March, which was then appealed. We had conversations with DEP. I've been working with DEP on one particular project that we've been with them for, it's going to be pushing 100 to 110 days at this point in time, and they're supposed to only have 70 days to actively appeal. So they're backlogged on different projects. So what we did was we said the appeal seemed to have centered around the operation and maintenance report and the requirements within that and how that was addressed to the board, both on plan and then subsequent submittal of that document once the hearing was closed. There was a problem with that in the eyes of the abutter, so therefore what we're trying to do is rectify this by including the document within the letter that we submitted on the 23rd of April. So the operation and maintenance plan is within the letter that we submitted. It's part of the document that's been submitted to this commission. The other requirements that have been more recently added, although they do show up in the actual order of conditions relative to passing on the maintenance requirements from owner to owner. We more specifically talk about that within the within the document to let the landowner know that this is a document that continues with the land. So that's been put into two different sections of the document as well. So I believe that would complete the process of the concerns that had been raised by the abutter as well as by the commission at that point in time. But now at this point, you actually have the document in your hands prior to hearing. So once again, the changes to the site plan that were made between the originally approved plan and the current plan that's on file with the town incorporated significant improvements to the drainage structures, even above and beyond what we had done before, making it a better project. We all agree that that's what we're doing. Now with the maintenance agreement in place, we ask that the board give us any feedback on the changes and go from there.
I have it may be more of a legal question than anything else. Are we in a position to act on this request to amend the order of conditions while there's still a pending appeal?
Yes.
And what's your authority for that?
My authority is that I actually talked to the DEP about that very question.
Okay. Well, it would have been nice if they had talked to us.
I understand, and the reason why is that the original order of conditions remains in full force and effect.
Right.
So it's not affected by if we had an amended order that we requested and you denied it, it still allows us to come back and file another one.
Uh-huh.
So this one is kind of in limbo. It has no status. You approved it, it got appealed. It has no jurisdiction over anything because it's not approved by the commission and it's not approved by DEP. So in the meantime, we're able to file it. We could ask for an amended order for something that's not on the plan now.
Or you could say this is just a brand new filing, in a
Well, that would-
sense.
No, it's not. We're asking.
I know it's an amended filing, but you're saying that because of the appeal,
This is a brand new request for an amended order.
Right.
Correct.
but just to, if I'm hearing correctly, the order that we approved, or the order of conditions that we issued is now in abeyance or in limbo.
Nope.
It's
nope,
not.
No, the original order of conditions is in full force and effect.
Okay,
The previous request for the amended order was approved. That doesn't change the original. It amends the original order with new information that the board then says
All
we're
right.
okay with. What's now happened is that amendment portion has been appealed.
gotcha.
So we can't act on that. All we could do, we can go out and we can build this right now.
Right,
Okay?
Mhm.
But this doesn't meet the agreements of what we did with the city.
and as you
With
said,
with
the appeal is just limited to the very narrow issue of the
Correct.
maintenance and
So-
operating
So
agreement.
the amendment that we're requesting is for all the changes that basically bring the plans through the construction issue of 2/27/19.
Okay,
Okay, so that brings everybody up to date, so you're basically approving everything that's on the plan, all the changes have happened since the original plan was approved to now.
okay,
And the thing that was not incomplete, even though it was on the plans and in the order of conditions originally relative to the stormwater management program, the logs relative to how they would monitor everything was not part of the plan package. That's usually put together with the SWIP for the contractor and then for the responsibility of the landowner thereafter. This board had asked for that information as part of almost a condition of our approval, but it was felt by the abutter that didn't have a chance to read that and edit that or review that in a public forum, so therefore that was my understanding of why they filed the appeal.
okay,
So this is a new filing, a new request, a new amendment, with all the information that we feel is needed to support the board's decision, and we would just go from here.
all right, thank you.
And that doesn't, just for the record, I think you know this, that doesn't take away their right to appeal this one either.
Right,
Okay, but we're trying to work our way through these processes.
okay. Any questions from the board? Okay, any questions from the audience? Mr. Reiser, do you have any questions about this? Or your attorney, or your representative?
Mark Arnold with Goddard Consulting. So we did have a few comments on the amendment request. We appreciate this ability to actually speak publicly on the over that submit. So they did submit an operation maintenance plan, which was something that we had requested.
Right,
Just as a standard redevelopment project, to actually have an operation maintenance plan that will actually ensure that the property is actually maintained.
mhm,
We did note that they did note that the landowner is responsible for the operation and maintenance plan, which is good information to have on the operation and maintenance plan. Our concern still is when the standard says that a question of how it's going to be transferred between owners. There's nothing in the operation and maintenance plan that shows or demonstrates that how that's going to occur, and they've not provided any other information on how that would be done when even under a title search for transfer of property between owners. And our concern is that this operation maintenance plan getting swept under the rug or just being lost in the paperwork.
Are you suggesting that you want them to record the operation and maintenance plan with the registry of deeds?
I would like that or a reference to it that's tied to the deed. It can just be a comment on that's attached to it, or it could be the document itself. The commission could record it as an attachment to the amendment too. I've seen that happen.
Or you mean incorporated by reference in our order of conditions?
Not necessarily by reference, but actually attaching the document itself.
Right, and then would be recorded.
So that way you actually have the pages of the operation maintenance plan in the registry of deeds.
Mhm.
And that way when someone looks at the order, they'll actually see it. They're not, because otherwise they have to read it. And I mean, oftentimes when you look at documents, you don't read half of what you actually see.
Mhm.
And that's our concern, and I've seen that happen on multiple sites where the operation maintenance plan gets totally lost in the shuffle and you have to go to the Conservation Commission office and dig through their folder to actually find that there actually one exists. We didn't realize that. And that's our concern, is that just because of what we've had occur even this past winter with the snow stockpiling in the wetlands, which, I mean, it damaged plantings that we did for the restoration work. It damaged 2 witch hazels that we had damaged, and one of them got buried by snow. The other one got right up next to it. We did submit some photos. I have them with me.
We made a site visit too, so,
Yep.
and we saw the piles of snow.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
if you have a thought.
No, go ahead. And who are you?
My name is Dale Kiley. I'm legal counsel with Bourgeois White, representing Auburn Industrial. And just from the legal standpoint of, I believe there's an appeal that's been filed with the DEP.
That's correct.
On this matter. And we view this amendment request as an end around for the DEP appeal, because they clearly know that they were in violation. Otherwise, they wouldn't be asking for the amendment here, and they didn't respond to the DEP appeal. So we're viewing this as an end around to the DEP issue.
Now, unfortunately, and maybe you can answer this question, when the appeal was taken to DEP, the Concom was not copied in on that appeal. At least I'm not aware of us getting a copy. So it's hard for me to speak about the appeal without knowing what the contents are. Okay, that's,
You should have received a copy of the appeal letter,
well,
certified mail.
From DEP?
No, from my office to you.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it. So it's hard for me to sort of comment, and I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I just wanted that for background information,
So,
how we were viewing it.
There's a certified green card.
That's
that you
fine,
received.
and I'm telling you, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
So it's hard for me to comment on what your appeal was. Well, tell me, since you can explain it to me, what was the appeal based on? Was it on the operations and maintenance plan, concerns about it not being transferred to a new owner? What was the basis for the appeal?
The basis of the appeal was the transfer of ownership, the requirement that costs are supposed to be put on the plan, which has been done. The cost, ownership, referencing about a plan. I think those
do you have a
three
copy
things.
of the appeal
Do I
with
have
you?
a copy of the appeal with me? I think if I do.
I've not seen it.
Well, I have a copy, yeah, so our letter, so, I mean,
I did get that letter.
I think the last thing was the timing of the submittal of the information.
yes, and the other thing was the fact that they submitted the operation and maintenance plan after the closing of the public hearing, which didn't
Yeah.
allow us to actually comment on the issues that we've raised.
All right,
And if I may, through the chair,
please.
the operation and maintenance information was on the plans. It was in a lot of the documentation, but I don't disagree that the consolidation of that into one document is helpful, both for the landowner and the commission. And I don't think that we would have a problem with the commission attaching that to the amended order of conditions.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, what I'm thinking is that perhaps you could have a meeting. It seems to me that since DEP hasn't acted on the appeal, as you indicated, they have 70 days to do it, but they haven't done it in the 70 days. It's been over 110 days, I think you said?
No, on another project that we're
Oh, I'm sorry.
So they're backlog, but I will say, contrary to the attorney's comment, I have had conversations with DEP, and we have done work with them on these items.
Okay.
Part of it is the discussion about whether we could file an amended order, and the answer I got was they didn't see why not, since the existing order is in full force and effect. Nothing takes away from the existing order of conditions.
But I will tell you that I would want to speak to that person myself directly.
Sure.
So I would need that person's name. My suggestion is, it seems to me there are issues that can be resolved unless I'm totally off base here. My thought would be if you could maybe get together, try to hammer this out. It seems to me it would probably make the appeal moot if you can reach an agreement. And then if you can do that and come back to us and say, in effect, we have an agreement, this is what we're willing to do, then we can make the changes and and satisfy the concerns of both the owner of 33 Source Street and the abutter. That's just my thought.
And protect
And that's
wetlands.
exactly what we
Yeah.
were hoping for also. We are hoping to engage in a dialogue, and I think there's been a reluctance in communications between the parties, but that's what our hope was too, and that's why I brought it up, because it's only from a procedural standpoint.
That's the way it
So-
seems
so
to
I
me.
think- Yes, I think you're exactly right.
Really?
I'm sorry?
Did you reach out to us?
No, we had no recourse but to file an appeal because the only way to actually get you
I
to
don't
this
think
table
that's true.
was to file the appeal.
I don't think
That
I
was
said
the
it.
that was the only way to
I don't think-
actually
I don't think you
that was
said
the
it.
only way to actually make sure the operation maintenance plan did get reported
So,
publicly.
gentlemen, I am not, and this commission is not going to get involved in your dispute or this. And again, I think you're all reasonable people. I think if you get together, you can probably hammer this out. I don't see these issues as being insurmountable, and so my suggestion would be that we continue the public hearing in this matter for 2 weeks until May 22nd, which is our next meeting. And if there's a meeting of the minds, fantastic. In the meantime, Mr. Hannigan, I'll get the name of the person you spoke to at DEP regarding, the efficacy of this. And my hope is that on May 22nd, you'll report that the issue has been resolved, that there is no need for the appeal, and everyone can go on and do their thing.
I understand the
Well,
commission's
focused
concern and reluctance about acting on this without talking to DEP. That I do understand, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I want to try to get all this out on the table now. Right now, the suggestion has been made that we record the operation and maintenance document,
Yep.
or that the commission attaches part of the amended order. We don't have any problem with that.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
I think,
honestly,
I think that our stuff is okay.
It's very small. I mean, I have one other comment about the operation maintenance plan. That I relooked at Standard 9 again about what's required, and the operation maintenance plan is great, but it doesn't tell you where things are and how many things there are and where they're supposed to be inspected. And that, from an inspector standpoint, is very critical to an owner knowing, okay, I have this kind of unit, where is it on my property? Although the plans show it here, it's actually the operation maintenance plan doesn't actually have that. Doesn't have it attached, doesn't even cite a plan to say where it is. So I honestly think there's very few,
So if we-
there's
if
some
we
very
attach
minor
it-
tweaks that I think that could be accomplished before the next hearing.
Just so we can be clear, if we attach a sketch showing where all these items are on the plan, we enumerate them,
Yep,
and we include that, we add that to the back
yep.
of the operation maintenance, that'll satisfy your concern.
As long as that's recorded,
Well, then, the
in
commission's
the
already
register,
said that
yeah.
they're gonna,
I
that
think-
they're gonna
yeah.
attach it to the amended order.
I
We
think
haven't
if that's-
Well, we object to
Right,
that,
right.
but I think that it makes sense in order, that that's a good mechanism to make sure it gets done.
Yeah, I must say, I think it's, it's certainly, at least at a minimum, if someone is doing a telesearch, they will come across, and they're being diligent about it, they'll come across the order conditions and we'll see that plan or that operation and maintenance
Yep.
plan. So,
But what I'd like to do is get as much of this stuff on the table so that once you have your conversation with Megan Selby is the
I know
person.
Megan.
Right, so that's who I spoke with, and I believe she actually went up the flagpole a little bit before she gave me an answer. So that's who we would talk to, but at that point, we can put all the documents together. We'll submit them early next week so that they're available for anyone else to review. And we'll go from there. We'll come back on the 22nd and hopefully get our amended order approved.
okay. Sheila, when can we fit them in?
Probably 7:20, but it might be a little bit after that. We'll schedule you for 7:20 on the 22nd.
Okay, now, I'm going to tell you that I will not be here because that's my wife's birthday.
Oh,
Yeah, we know that's,
Better not.
You know what I'm saying,
Better not.
I know.
that's okay.
but I will have someone here.
But then what, this will be resolved by that date. Okay, is there a motion then?
I'll move to move this meeting. Thank you very much. Applicant FW Webb to May 22nd at 7:20.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, to vote. All right,
Thank you.
thank you all for coming in.
Thank you.
Tell Ray Bourgeois I said hello. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Enjoy the birthday.
Thank you. You need this, Pat?
I'm good, thanks, Bill.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Take this thing.
The next item on our agenda is 7:30 public hearing, NJ Realty Trust, a notice of intent for the renovation expansion of an existing automotive dealership at 519 Washington Street. Is there a motion to open?
So
moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, vote. Good evening. And thank you for dressing up for the occasion, John.
Well, I knew Todd was gonna wear a suit, so I at least put a tie on.
It's just the uniform of the day.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patrick McCarty, and my company is McCarty Engineering. We're based out of Leominster. Here with me tonight is Attorney Todd Broder from Fletcher Tilton. So you are the keeper of those. And as you just read, we're here tonight on behalf of NJ Realty Trust, who are the owners of the property at 519 Washington Street, Route 20 here in Auburn. As I'm sure all of you know, that is the Patrick Motors dealership that was constructed back in 1995, originally for Volkswagen on the right-hand side of the building as you're facing it from the street, and Saab on the left-hand side. Saab is no longer manufacturing automobiles, so for the past several years they've been using the Saab side for Volkswagen. And they've recently acquired the Gallo Volvo dealership in Worcester, which is now Volvo Cars of Worcester. So they'd like to relocate that dealership from Worcester to 519 Washington Street. And as part of that, they're proposing some renovations to the showroom area, adding a service lane on either side for each manufacturer, and also an expansion of the service area that's at the rear of the building. So we hired Ecotech from Worcester to go out and do the wetland delineation. And this is the existing conditions plan that we've colored here first. There's a small bordering vegetated wetland here in the back left corner of the site, which is flags A1 through A7. So Ecotech did the delineation, and Topper Land Survey went out and did a complete existing conditions plan survey for us. So we have A1 through A7 here, and this medium green color is the BVW. It borders on an intermittent stream that runs kind of southerly here along the property line. The dark green is the existing treed area, and I use the word treed loosely. As you can see, this is the existing detention basin, and so when they constructed this basin, this is actually a fill slope right down to the edge of wetlands where there's a concrete head wall where the existing discharge pipe is. So it's colored as woods, but it's really lawn that's become scrub brush over the years. We have the at-grade detention basin. You have inlets coming in from a catch basin here, a catch basin there, and a drain line that comes along the back of the property, and all discharge to this basin. There's another head wall with a outlet pipe, and it flows out into the A-series wetland. The dark brown here is just to show you the existing building that's currently on the site today. We have the 25-foot buffer zone, the 50-foot buffer zone, and the 100-foot buffer zone. So then, flipping it over, we have the proposed plan. So you can see in the lighter gray underneath, you can see the round shape of the existing front of the building. So we're squaring off the front on this side for Volkswagen to meet their new white frame prototype. Vehicle manufacturers are extremely specific on what their dealerships look like in terms of, and then we have a service drop-off here, so if you're bringing your car in, you'll be able to pull into the garage. Service advisor will take the car and you'll go into waiting. On this side, same effect for Volvo. Again, this is the round of the existing building, squaring off the front, adding the drop-off for the Volvo service bay. And then this is the existing rear portion of the building, and we're proposing a 3,565 square foot addition for the service area because each manufacturer has a specific number of service lifts that you have to provide to meet the requirements, which drove the size of the addition. All that is really just for context. It's outside of the buffer zone, but I'm just trying to give you an overall view of the project. So again, we've colored it, the medium green here is that same A-series wetland. The dark green is the existing tree vegetation to remain. The parking lot is being expanded. This is the existing curb line here. We're proposing expansion of the curb line and parking here to allow for a new vehicle inventory. To replace that at-grade detention basin, there's a new underground storm tech system here. All the piping is being replaced, all the catch basins are being replaced with deep sump catch basins. So there's an underground system here proposed and a smaller underground system here. Even though this site constitutes a redevelopment, we're meeting all of the stormwater management standards, so we're in full compliance with that. And I'm sure that all of you spent your weekend reading the lovely drainage analysis and HydroCAD output as I did.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's great stuff, very exciting.
Yeah, help me go to sleep, thank you.
So again, we have the 25-foot, so there's no work proposed in the 25-foot. We have the 50-foot, so to minimize the impact towards the wetland, we're proposing a small precast concrete block retaining wall here and there that are right at the 50-foot buffer. On the low side of that wall, we'll loom it and seed it and allow that to revegetate. And then up top will be the new pavement area. So this you can see is existing pavement now. So we're adding a small piece of pavement here and a small piece of pavement here with the exception of this landscape island. So as far as jurisdictional area on the site, it's quite minor. Really, it's all driven by the manufacturers. They have very specific requirements for everything, including the number of cars that you have on the site. Everybody wants it now, right? So they want to have the inventory in stock. So if you pull up and I want a gray Volkswagen Jetta with black leather interior and a sunroof, they want to make sure they have it so you don't go down the street and have another vehicle somewhere else.
We've had other dealerships come before us, and they've also told us that the manufacturers or whoever they contract with have very specific requirements for the design, appearance, and other dimensions for the dealership. So
the Patrick family's been here in Auburn for 1995, going on 25 years at this location. They're making obviously a large investment in the dealership to modernize it. And everything is being redone from the building, exterior, interior, showrooms. All the existing paving that's now 25 years old will be reclaimed, pulverized, graded, and paved. A new fully compliant stormwater management system, new landscaping, so really a major overhaul of the site. And we're hopeful that the commission will support their efforts and vote favorably on the project.
are they going to remain open while the renovations are being conducted?
They are, and so we're actually a design-build company. This is our 37th year in business. So we have a civil engineering group that does the design and the permitting. We self-perform the site work, so we have about 18 guys, 20 machines. We do that part of it ourselves, and then construction manage the build-out. So we'll be the point of contact right through the whole project, managing the design, the permitting, and the construction. And so I'm the one that's faced with the challenge of how to put this together while maintaining an operating dealership and keeping cars clean and keeping access for the public and all that good stuff.
Okay.
So our preliminary discussions are to build this parking area here right off the bat so that they have a spot to take the inventory from here and move it over there. Service addition would be next because there's a drive-in door on this end of the building and a drive-in door on that end of the building. So just by shutting this door, I'll be able to construct the service addition, and then we would do one half, move everybody into that half, do the other half, and swap it all over.
How long to build, do you think?
I'm saying it's a 7 to 9 month process, and so we submitted to the commission. We submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals because this isn't an Aquifer Zone 3. Automotive sales is a special permit. They have a special permit from 1993 that's still in full force and effect. So we've requested an amendment to the existing special permit to allow for the renovations, which we're hoping will go smoothly. And then we also submitted site plan approval.
Okay.
And then just
Yes, he
today,
did.
we brought Sheila home. She's fantastic. She's excellent and helpful. I came in 3 weeks ago with arms full of plans for the 3 submissions. She was very helpful sorting that out. And then today we brought in plans for 189 Washington Street, which is the Spirit Central building right at 20 on the Pike. And that will hopefully be the site of Patrick Mazda.
Okay.
So those plans call for the demolition of that building and construction of a new ground-up 18,000 square foot Mazda with terrace parking up the hill. So they're looking to move these 2 manufacturers from
Right
Worcester.
across the street from Motorsports.
No, not that far. Right across the street from Dartmouth College property,
Right after you
just
go into
before
the
West
Mass
Tech.
Pike underpass, kind of right there on the right, heading towards
Oh, I think it's
Worcester.
in Auburn.
West Tech Drive.
West Tech Drive.
Oh,
It was
okay.
originally built for
West Tech
Keystone.
Drive.
Yeah, it was
Okay,
built for
okay, got it
Keystone
now.
originally. It's got all the dock doors on
Yeah.
it.
Okay, all
Right.
right.
Okay.
I was thinking of the one in Auburn.
Yep, so they're looking to move the 2 dealerships from Worcester, along with about 50 jobs, and looking for some serious growth. So we're
Okay.
hopeful for the support of the commission and happy to answer any questions.
Well, I'd like to take a look. I mean, I don't know if I was on the board. You said they came before the board back in
93?
93, so that was before the time I came on the board. What we normally like to take a look. I mean, the plan suggests minimal impact on the wetland, but we still would like to have an eyeball it first.
Sure.
You know, and that basically, you know, if you don't have to meet us there. If you want to meet us there, it's fine, but we're capable of doing it ourselves.
No, I'm happy to. If you look at the topography, these are the existing contours.
Mhm.
So the detention basin berm is at 609 and the wetlands down at 600, so it's a 2-to-1 slope straight down
Understood.
to the wetland. And then it's all sloping down this way. I do happen to have some pictures on my phone if you wanted to look at those. I'm happy to meet you at a site walk. And
What is everyone's availability on Saturday? Nope, Carol's making a face, so.
Can't do it.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll be on
okay, I can do it. Will you be out of the
I
country?
can, actually.
Oh, okay. So, what would be a good time for you? 9 o'clock?
whatever works for you, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, I'm happy to be available.
It shouldn't take that long.
No.
Would you like me to have Scott from Ecotech there, or?
No, it's not necessary. Although Scott is always happy to see us.
I think that's okay.
Mr. Berta, do you have any words of wisdom to add to this?
No, this is Patrick's show tonight, you know, with you folks. This is really, you know, I think it's a nice little project. You know, the Patrick family's been here in town for a while. I've been
Sure.
made this acquisition. I've been looking for locations that made sense. Tried the Dartmouth College property, didn't quite work. You know, and this location is obviously existing. They did buy the parcel behind this. We created an A&R plan and divided off from 104 South Street, about 8 acres, and that's staying as is. There's nothing proposed on that
Okay.
lot. We had proposed something. Got some feedback from the neighbors and from the boards, and it just, you know, what we thought, leave that alone. But this is necessary to get particularly more parking, inventory parking on site, because it's not going to meet the manufacturer's requirements
Understood.
as is. So
Right.
it's a nice little project. You know, Patrick's team has done a great job putting the plans together, and 189 will be something. There's a little bit of jurisdictional area on that project as well, so you'll see that.
It's in your envelopes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so in that case, do we have your permission to continue this to May 22nd?
Yes.
Okay. And what time shall we say, 7:30?
Let me see. I think I already put them on because I figured you'd want to continue it.
Uh-huh.
I have them set for 7:05.
Oh, that's even better. Okay. And is there a motion?
Make a motion that we continue the application of,
Yeah, I'm here for the other one too.
where are we?
And
Patrick, what is it?
519.
Yeah, 519 Washington Street to May 22nd at 7:05.
Okay. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed to vote? All right, and I'll meet you there. Michelle and I will meet you at 9 o'clock on Saturday.
I can go too.
I can do
Okay,
it.
and I'm sorry, Nate too.
I can do it now too.
Okay.
Is there any other questions
No,
that we need to address before then?
no, I think we're good.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you very
Will you
much.
sign
coming
this
in.
one, Patrick?
Certainly. I get to shoot to West Boylston now to catch the
Good.
next meeting.
Catch the rest of my son's baseball game also.
Oh, take care, go.
Take care.
All right.
Take
Thank
care,
you, Todd.
Todd. Say hi to your dad.
I will.
I think I can do it.
I'm sure he does that anyway. The side was fine.
From me.
Thanks for clarifying.
She did say for me.
Where do you meet at night?
We can be right at Patrick Motors at 5.
Yeah.
May
I'll do
22nd
that.
at 7:05.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think I'd be
it's
out
supposed to
now.
be today's date, but that's okay.
Shouldn't take long.
That's all right.
Oh.
That's all right, 7:05.
Today's May.
I'll have to until later.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just put 7:05, yeah, that's fine. All righty.
Excellent.
All right.
Great evening.
Thank you all very much, you
Thanks
too.
for coming in.
Okay. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, I go face the firing squad now.
I know, you're still up.
Why, that's Wilson, that's up?
It's a marijuana dispensary. It's my 5th one that we permitted, so my flat check is getting built up.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Good night, thank you, Patrick.
519, okay.
All right.
Yeah, the other.
So I see some gentlemen in the audience.
Yes,
So why are you here, guys?
they're on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one?
15 Bridle Path, and 7 are supposed to be here.
15 Bridle Path.
There's 7? Okay. This is 15, he was here.
7 and 15.
Just a big fan of Conservation Commission meetings.
Awesome.
You know.
Yeah. Somebody is.
They have a side member? Would you like to become a member?
Perhaps.
Well, we'll have to wait now, we get a full board. Maybe you could fill in for me.
I was gonna say, you can take my spot. No, they'd miss me too much, wouldn't you?
Yes.
You don't miss me.
How long do we have, Kathy?
Take your time.
So what can we do?
Skype, you know.
What can we do for you, sir?
Sure. So I came before the commission a few weeks ago relative to a shed at 15 Bridle Path.
Right.
And the commission found a determination of applicability to the area of where we wanted to put the shed.
Right.
After reviewing the bylaw more specifically and the regulations, it looks like there's a provision that I'd like to put back before the commission to reconsider this as a minor project. As the shed is being built off-site and it's a prefab unit, we would like to basically just, it's going to be dropped on site, leveled with cinder blocks. There's no excavation happening. And basically the minor project reads as...
What section is it?
Great question.
That's why I asked it.
I have only that one page here.
Okay, well, there should be a number. Oh, you don't have a copy of the page.
I just have a scan. It's towards
I
the
don't
end.
have my regulations with me.
It's not helpful.
I can read it for you.
So I want to look at the definitions.
Yep, yeah, it's in the definitions.
Okay.
Let me pull it up here.
All right, I'm going to read it into the record. Minor project means one that is exempt from the bylaw, such as a fence, shed, above-ground pool, decks, gazebo, renovations that do not require excavation. A project that is to be built in the buffer zone will be determined by the commission on a case-by-case basis. Okay. What's the size of the shed you want to put in?
10 by 16.
Okay.
And it would be not built on site. It's actually built in Pennsylvania, trucked up, and
No permit.
yeah, no permit.
Doesn't need a permit.
So it would basically just be dropped on site.
And you're putting it on cinder blocks?
Yes.
Okay. How close to the wetlands?
It's within 10 feet.
All right. So,
It's going to be on grass.
right, I understand that. Do you know what the closest point is to the wetland from the corner of the shed?
Probably 5 feet.
Okay.
It's the only flat place on our yard, unfortunately.
Mhm.
It's about a 10-foot drop from the top to the bottom. And based on the yard, there's just nowhere else to put it, unfortunately.
Okay.
The side yard has a worse drop. It's about 12 feet on the same side. This is really the only flat area of the yard.
I did look at the topo map and that is just about a 10-foot drop.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Is that an Amish, you said it was made in Pennsylvania, is that the Amish ones?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I have, yeah.
Yep. Apparently that's the
what
the
they do,
best.
right?
Yeah.
And if they do, and they do it very well.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Any questions?
I think that's it.
All right, if there are no questions, I mean, it's not a public hearing, so we will take what you have proposed to us under advisement and we'll get back to you.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for coming in.
Okay. Thank you.
And Mr. Dales?
Yes.
So you're here on 7 Brown Pond?
Yes.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, I was here, and I was proposing an above-ground pool to be a 12-foot round pool.
Right.
And when we saw the size of a 12-foot round pool, it was pretty small.
Mhm.
So we were looking to see if we can't extend it by a 12 by 23. The 12 feet wouldn't go any closer to the 25-foot zone. It would go the length of my yard.
Okay, so,
To make it oval.
I've got
Oval,
pictures.
or-
Yes, I've got pictures. You want to see pictures?
Yeah.
Whoops.
There's actually 7 there, so.
Remember
how they moved it back? So in other words, I wouldn't go
I
any
think I
closer
sent- I think
than
I
the
sent
25
everyone.
feet. Right. It's going a long way, yeah. It's just the 12 foot was so small.
why even build it?
Yeah. Now, my wife also asked me, after we got the determination last time, if I could put a deck on it. So I was proposing a deck on the corner there.
Mhm.
Probably, I haven't got the design of the deck. The builder said, the contractor said, put the pool up and then he'll do that. But again, that would be between the pool and the house, not the pool and a wetland.
Okay, so the pool in the house. Not, you're
Yeah.
not gonna go on the
Correct.
outside? Okay.
So in other words, it would be between the pool and the house, not the pool and the wetland.
Okay.
You know, you might still have to file for the deck, but you can treat
File.
that, file another request for determination of
Okay.
applicability.
Okay.
Once you get the design in, and so we have a better idea,
Okay.
because just like you changed the pool from around 12 by 12 to a 12 by 20, we would just, need some details on that. And I'd
Well,
like
next
to-
year I'll be back for a fence. She wants a fence too.
We women, we don't, you know, come on.
Incorporate
I
it
know.
in with
I
the
keep going.
deck.
Well,
I told her to hold off. I just, I can only do so much.
That's right. You just
I
give
work
in.
full-time too.
What's the expression? Happy wife, happy life?
That's it, that's exactly.
That looks like nothing but work for me, that pool.
Yeah, that's all they are.
You're gonna be cleaning it, huh?
How old are the grandchildren?
We've got a 2 3-year-olds and a year and a half.
Oh, so they
So
keep
that's pretty much what it's for, when
Yeah.
we have the grandchildren over to play in the pool.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I have no questions. Does anyone have any questions?
Nope.
Nope.
All right, all right. Well, thanks for coming, and
Thank you.
we will make a decision.
Okay, so I wait to hear from you on the pool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now we'll just go with the pool?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you.
And when you see your wife, just tell her you worked really hard for that deck. But that word is
Tell them.
kind of tough.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Good night. Thanks for waiting.
That's it, that's so good.
It's a rough night.
So,
Yeah, really.
Compared to what?
Like the usual things. Usually there's nobody in here, there's nobody fighting.
That's true. All right.
Was a little exciting.
You have some things to do tonight.
We do.
All right. So let's talk about John Johnson.
Yes.
I know.
I
Michelle's all angsty.
I have a comment I'd like to make. I remember I took a class, and it was on how to condition orders of conditions for situations. I would never think of something like this.
Uh-huh.
I don't see any reason why we couldn't condition it, for example, with the special order number 2. Prior certificate of compliance being issued all the way to the end. The as-built plan shall indicate the location. And then after that, in addition to this condition, we request that the house be built according to the plan, to that plan.
I think we can even.
Add more?
Well, no.
Well,
Can we?
the thing is, we can add to these special conditions. Another example is erosion and sediment control measure will be placed between the work area and the edge of the BVW. In addition to this special condition, the Conservation Commission would like to inspect the erosion control measures right in
Prior
place
to.
before any excavations take. Guess what? We're there, we're looking at it. There's no way to get around that.
So you went to the parcel.
Wow.
It's a long, narrow lot.
Yeah.
It is.
And there's a substantial drop off to the wetland area. So, I mean, look, if someone wants to buy it and put a 20-foot wide house on it, I think that's their
All the
business.
power to them.
Yeah, that's what I
It has
say.
to be
And one other thing.
They're not designing this,
Right.
the house. plan.
Wow.
I mean, they can put any kind of looking house
Right.
there that they want, they just have to stick to
No.
that floor plan.
Can they go up? Can they go
Footprint.
up? They can go up
Yeah.
in levels, but it can't be any wider than 20
Right.
feet, is that
No.
correct?
Right.
And I think
They
what we
have
can
to.
do is, in terms of, if we issue an order of conditions, we can say specifically that the only plan that was approved is the plan dated 10/22/18, revised on January 24th and 19. If there are any changes made to that plan, they have to come back before us.
Yeah, amend the order.
All right, so is there a motion then?
I make a motion that we accept the notice of intent after reconsidering it by issuing a standard order
Okay,
along with special conditions number 1 and number 2. And after number 2, I would like to add this verbatim, Sheila.
Yeah,
In addition to this special condition, special condition,
you may actually,
builder.
not to cut you off, there might be one of the other conditions that might be easier to
Sure.
incorporate what you want to say. So 1, 2.
1, 2, 3,
Right,
why don't we go with 5?
5 is what I was thinking
Yeah.
too.
At the end of number 5, I'd like to add, in addition to this special condition,
yeah.
the Auburn Conservation Commission would like to inspect all erosion control measures before excavations take place.
Or you can even make it stronger by saying the applicant must notify the Auburn Conservation Commission so they are allowed to inspect the erection of erosion and sediment control measures.
There you go. That works.
Make it mandatory.
Okay.
Okay.
Could you just repeat that? Because I've got the Auburn Conservation,
The applicant will notify the Auburn Conservation Commission once the erosion and sediment control measures have been installed so that inspection may take place.
Okay.
I will call now to let me know.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
You can call me tomorrow.
And then, after that, we got number 8,
Okay.
number 9, number 11. There's no West Street.
And there's
Number third, no, I don't know if there's storm management. I
No,
don't believe there
there
is.
isn't.
And number 14, because if I recall, how far was he from the corner? Was it at 23 feet?
No, I think he
Did he move it out to 25?
did.
He did.
Took it down to 22.
Okay.
That's why, yeah, exactly.
All right, so we don't need to put in 14.
Okay.
23.
Okay?
All right, Sheila, you have that?
Yeah, you gave us a new plan, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
11, so it's 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9, 11.
And
And 5 has
And
an
number
additional.
5 has the applicant will notify Auburn Conservation when the erection of the erosion control has been installed, so inspection may take place.
And then you should also add another condition, which I'm going to suggest, which is the
Go with the plan.
the order conditions relate specifically to the plan submitted by the applicant dated October 22nd, 2018, revised on January 24th, 2019. Should any variation from this plan will require notification to the Auburn Conservation Commission.
Any variation of this plan will what?
Require notification
Notification.
of the Auburn Conservation Commission.
Okay.
Okay?
Got it.
All right, so there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second that.
Plan.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote.
All right. Let's get that one signed.
I had some child phone delivery slips like 20 days. Board is right. It's off. I hear it. I'm getting better though. I lose
No,
it
you're not
when I
done.
try.
It's getting a little better.
No, when
Read
it's
some
like,
words.
you're writing down as fast as you can. And I'm getting big letters, capitals. Yep.
Good boy.
It's funny.
Here we go.
He's like, does that really say Northborough? Yeah,
I
it
know.
does.
Pretty soon they won't be asking you, wait, Sarah.
Thank you.
I'll put all the information on that too, not just the date and the thing. I'm gonna put the plan name
Yep.
and
If you would.
everything on it. Engineer. Okay, thank you.
All right, for Del Ravati.
Okay.
Now, can we act on that one where they're still changing the plot lines and that hasn't been?
They say yes.
Yeah, you have to wait till that goes through, right?
We have to wait till that goes through.
It's gotta
We
go.
pushed that one, didn't
Yeah, because now it's all on,
Oh,
on
no,
those
we didn't.
trees.
We closed it.
We closed it
Yeah.
here.
Well, what it is that they're gonna, they were trying to, I think, kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a transfer of that triangle shape of property, and then the abutter, the neighbor, is gonna have to come before us if they want to take the trees down. We can act, and we can issue an order of conditions on the plan that, the plan that he submitted tonight. I don't think there's any problem with that.
But
Yes, we
they're
can.
transferring that driveway piece too, right? That was the point.
Triangle.
The triangle, which is in the
Well,
back.
but that's what they're swapping, the triangle for the driveway, because the driveway
They're
was
getting more
half.
property in the front. And
Yeah,
then,
so that's gonna move that line, and
Okay.
that's why he's saying he's further off the line, which doesn't
Right.
technically
Hasn't happened yet?
involve us.
No, it hasn't happened yet.
So we can't do that yet.
I mean,
the
but that's
plan
a-
has been approved by the planning board, it just has not been recorded.
Right, and his plan, that the reason they changed that front was because he was gonna be too close to the property line,
With the addition.
the original property line. Now they're moving the property line, but that doesn't affect us. We were looking at that back corner and the
Then-
stream.
That's right.
We have, look, we have 21
That weird
days
shape.
to issue an order of conditions,
so
so
we
we're
can do it
within, the next meeting will
Next
be in the
meeting.
time period.
I think what was happening was they are going back and forth with the sale. Now, now the people on the next number, is it 84, want them to remove the trees as part of the sale, and I said to him, if that plan's recorded, then they don't own the trees anymore. I said, the new people are gonna have to file an RDA,
That's right.
that's what I said. And then,
That's what I
he
said.
said, I said, but technically, it hasn't been recorded. I said, I don't know, I just
So
kind
he's
of.
better off doing it before that goes through. Cut the trees down, then, well.
No.
Who knows, that could be,
still
yeah,
has
no,
to
no,
file-
yeah,
You
yeah,
have to
yeah.
file an RDA on the whole plan.
Never mind, I know.
To complete the swap and then let the other guy deal
Right,
with
that
the
would be
trees.
easier, and if they have to offer the money, that has been discussed too.
See,
so- But that's not our problem.
That is not a problem, but the
Right.
problem, it might interfere with our issuing an order of conditions. So I think what we should do is this. My suggestion would be that we send Mr. Ravati a letter,
Yeah,
and send it out tomorrow, saying,
Yeah.
we cannot issue an order of conditions until
Plan's
your land swap or your plan has been recorded.
yeah.
And tell him that our next meeting is going to be on May 22nd, and we will need to prepare the order of conditions on that date.
Okay.
Okay? And if you want to do a rough draft and send it to me, I'll
I
take a
will.
look at it. I know you
I
will.
like to do that.
I know you will. It's okay. That's fine. All right, so we'll defer
Okay.
working on that until May 22nd. For Leslie Wilson, the request for determination, is there a motion?
I make a motion that, given the information presented by the applicant, that we issue a negative determination.
Okay,
Yeah.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion?
That was the tree.
So the tree.
That was,
Oh,
The
okay.
100-foot oak
the
tree,
tree's
that's
taken
that's
out.
unusual. Pines grow to be 100 feet.
Yeah,
I've never heard of a
right.
100-foot oak tree before.
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, it's a vote.
Okay,
Okay.
let me just get a determination.
Sure.
Here.
That means that she can do it, right?
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
without
yeah,
filing.
negative's good,
Sure.
positive means.
Right, negative, yeah. It's confusing.
Right.
Bureaucracy. It's finest. Negative is good.
All righty. She was very good getting all the paperwork in and doing everything.
She's right, the trees
quickly.
down there are killer.
Yeah.
Who was the gentleman that was with her? Sorry.
Jeffrey
Joseph.
Joseph, I don't know who he was.
Saw his name
Was it
tag.
her? Oh, the one who was with her.
I think it's her partner.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, it must have
Yeah.
been a living partner or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they said, she said, we had
Yeah,
decided on something.
yeah.
So they're together somehow.
I saw his name on his thing, that's why I didn't
He
ask
didn't,
him.
yeah, he didn't, right, he didn't produce it.
I should have asked him though, because that could have been someone else's name tag, right?
Could have been one.
Never
Just a
assume.
sample of-
There's someone
That's
else's
right.
uniform altogether.
Yeah.
It's just.
Oh, yeah, Merlin.
God, you guys go watch too many bets.
Too many bad TV
Oh,
shows.
ID.
I
It's
know.
my channel.
Oh, God.
Oh, my wife
What
watches
you
that.
watching?
Is it snapped?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
one
on
of them,
there.
yeah, that's,
God, where do these people come from?
oh, it's awful. I'm getting
Florida.
paranoid.
Florida. Florida, definitely
not like the
Florida.
rest
Now
of
we're gonna
us.
get
Yeah.
complaints from people that live in Florida and Oklahoma. Oh, how come they were raised that way?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so
But I
now-
digress.
Now we have Sword Street, what's happening with
Well,
Sword
no,
Street?
before we have Sword Street, we have Pinrock.
Oh, yeah.
We have to do anything with Sword Street because we continued it for 2 weeks and they're gonna try to work it
All
out,
right, okay.
which is what they should have done by before now.
Yeah,
My only
what
question
is
on
that
that
all about? Because
It's
they're not worried
bad.
about the environment right
No.
now.
No,
That
they,
has
they got
nothing to do
something
with the
I-
environment.
No, the,
We care not to speculate.
Exactly.
And we're being
I
recorded.
was just curious to know, did Mr.
I was trying to
Reisner
figure out
have
what's going on
any
there.
maintenance and operation reports that
That
are
was-
on the deed on
No.
any of his it's obvious there's some, a
What's
little
that,
bit of disagreement going
Right,
on.
yeah. sitting
yeah,
here.
yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
And that one was
I
Mark
don't believe
Arnold,
it.
he's
I don't know.
the engineer
I don't know what the legal term would
environmental
be.
person for.
You don't hire an attorney to come with you.
Reisner.
No,
Yeah, who-
no,
And that was
he
their
didn't say a
lawyer.
word
Right,
either.
now who was
He
Reisner?
said nothing.
He owns it, Auburn Industrial, and he sold number 33 off to
See,
this
usually,
company.
you know, when you sell the property, you think you're gonna have a good relationship.
Yeah.
So-
yeah, you don't
Yeah.
Right.
just fight them on
He
every.
sold, what, 33, say that again, he sold
And then-
what?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
stayed at
FWF.
31 and sold
If you go to the
33.
property, what he's done is he's demarcated the property line with these huge barriers, some
Yeah.
big
Oh, yeah,
blocks
yeah,
that
yeah.
you find on like 146. You know,
Jersey
they're like
barriers.
Jersey barriers.
Yeah, that's gonna be the new building. New
Sure,
service
that's
center.
right.
And they're demanding that we
yeah,
have,
I got it.
you know,
That guy's been doing all
snow
the work
control
inside.
measures and everything for the neighbor.
Oh, the
But-
other guy was right here, yeah.
I mean,
They
it's
were-
only a matter of time before they flip it back
Well,
and
they
say
were
the other way.
also, their
Yeah.
hands were not entirely clean. in
I,
this.
No, they had a violation
No, no.
as well when we went to the check
Yeah.
on
that's what I
this.
mean, it's not about the
Yeah,
environment.
so-
Yeah, they don't.
I
Right.
don't,
Let's continue.
frankly, I don't know.
We
and,
did.
Okay,
you know, so,
get straight past
So I
that. I'm
got,
okay, what about Pinrock
Good.
Road?
gonna use
all
that.
right.
So,
This is this little thing here.
yeah, but I
This was
mean,
the plan that was something with the sewer department.
Oh, they're
Something
trying to,
else.
yeah.
It was like last night.
yeah, but there's like, no,
Oops,
I'm sorry,
sorry.
there's no narrative.
I had left the plan right here.
I have
Can't
nothing.
really see it.
It was just the
Yeah,
plan,
it's
I was
just
hoping.
little,
I don't think I
All
have
right,
anything.
then I
a little
don't
thing
know.
right here, all that.
Why don't I have anything to piss off?
Oh, okay.
See, as Sheila, as you've heard me say many, many times before, we do not provide advisory opinions.
The upper
Yeah.
Blackstone.
I-
He's looking for an advisory opinion,
Yeah,
right? So,
yes, I really didn't even read it, to be quite
so,
honest.
so contact Mr. Willis and tell him the
We
Auburn
do not-
Conservation Commission does not
make advisory.
provide advisory opinions.
I don't know if he, yeah, well, I
What
think
does
he
he
wanted me to
want?
look at the plan, but I
Well,
mean, they
okay,
have to file,
so
wouldn't they?
great, I'm looking at the plan.
What does he want?
There's no narrative attached.
What does he want?
I don't know.
Okay. I
You
don't
know,
know, maybe that's.
I don't know, it's something with the sewer department, I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay, let's
It's just
table
a-
that.
a
It's
maintenance.
8:20.
I mean, they want, in fact, this was,
moving the main.
this was the subject of a warrant on the town meeting,
Yes.
Yes.
Last
or an
night.
article on the town meeting warrant last night.
Yes, it was.
And there, it's a redundant main force pipe,
Is that your dinner too?
but, no, I think they have to do a little better than what they've done here, so. And he's an engineer, so I mean, come on.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
All right.
okay, I've,
I'm
I've,
just a secretary, what do I know?
You know everything,
I know a
you're the
lot.
heartbeat of the
He's got it
place,
all.
who are you kidding?
All right, so,
That's a cop.
Moving on.
I mean,
15 Bridle Path.
Yes, we
we
are.
talked about that.
I did.
Oh, we did, yes. So what are we gonna do for Mr.
15-7.
Mr. McMahon?
The appeal.
Mr. McMahon.
I don't like that at all. I'm gonna tell you right now, because I think it set a bad precedent. I really
Well,
honestly.
But I think,
Okay.
I mean, I think the bylaws are pretty clear that if it's a,
Within 25 feet, it's a
Yeah,
no
yeah,
build zone.
25, yeah.
His argument, though, is that he's not really building it, or he was building, just placing it there.
right.
So,
But what if it comes in pieces like the other guy at the end of the street?
He-
came?
Oh,
oh.
I
Who's
don't
the one
think
who
that's
said it's
happening.
coming from the, oh,
You
that was
just
number
take
7.
sheds now.
Well, you bought
See,
a
This
shed,
is
right?
bigger
I
than
did,
that,
I
too.
bought one exactly from where he was
little
from
overly
Skips,
sensitive.
and
Did he
made it
originally
way
want to
past the
construct the
banana.
shed?
Little?
Was that what?
Little.
No,
He-
he just.
Did it come in
I
one
think
piece?
originally-
Yes.
You know,
Came
you're
right underneath
wanted
our
the shed,
electrical
but he
wires,
wanted
right
to
down
put
the
it
backyard.
in
Just
that
for the record,
same
was
spot,
that?
and we said, no,
Wires.
you can't
Carol.
construct it
Yeah, I-
there.
Well, hold it,
Skips
okay.
is
To
the
allow
one
him
that
to do it.
Yeah.
did the
I was
one
the
on
only,
Berlin
just because
Street.
of
sorry?
impacts.
Skips in Springfield.
Okay, Skips. Skips did it.
All
Skips, ours was built by the Amish.
All right, now, hold on.
Okay.
Okay. A project that is to be built in the buffer zone will be determined by the commission on a case-by-case basis.
Right, so.
So it's not, you know, you're concerned about precedent, and that's a valid concern, no question about it. But within the definition itself, it says case by case.
Okay.
So,
Who's got a hardship there?
Why
Yeah,
is it?
given the
Why is it-
layout of
You're right.
the yard.
Okay. You're right, given the yard, okay.
no, because it's like with 5 feet or 6 feet
He
away
doesn't
from the
even need a
wetlands.
building
Okay,
permit.
okay,
It's
okay.
not.
'Cause it's small,
big-
right.
See, the
It's
fact-
not a big shed.
And this is different from, was it 7 Bridle Path, the one next to it?
Yeah.
Because he had put in, he had poured a cement pad.
Right
there
there.
was sonotubes, that was built. This is a shed that can be moved.
Okay.
You
And as he
need,
said, there's no excavation required.
There's none, okay.
you need a permit? I have a permit.
No permit for
On the
him.
200.
No.
I ha- Why
No,
not for
because it's
him?
coming
I have
fully
one.
assembled.
I'm going to tell you why.
I'm
You
just
don't need a
saying.
permit because it's considered a temporary structure. You put in sonotubes, it's permanent.
Permanent.
And
You
it's
need
a
building
certain
permit.
size.
Yeah,
200 square feet or less,
square feet.
you do not need a permit.
Mhm.
So you put a 10 by 20 with no permit.
And that's what his is, right?
10 by 16.
16.
Yeah,
by
so it's,
16.
okay. So
12
it's
by
even,
16. It's under, it's
So
under
if
the
it's
200.
200 square feet, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we have a permit posted right on it, so, from Skips. So I can't
So,
remember this.
anyway,
Okay.
what is the pleasure of the board?
I think based on the plot and the layout, I mean, he doesn't really have another option for where to put it. I mean,
Is
My
it gonna
personal-
impact the wetland at all?
It's not impacting.
I mean, unless he's storing, you know, hazardous chemicals in there, I mean, what impact can it have?
We don't really know what
We
he's
don't
using
know.
the shed for, right?
That's right.
Probably, we don't really know that. How about this? Let's send a letter to Mr. McMahon saying that, asking him to advise us what his what he wants to use the shed for.
Intentions of the shed.
Historic.
Okay.
Sure.
And,
Can we can do that?
Sure.
hell, yeah,
Yeah.
with the conservation.
With the
You can do
Conservation
anything you
Commission.
want.
We can ask him, no, seriously, it's a valid question. That rates a really good point.
He's probably gonna say a lawnmower. and
I'm
some
gonna
tools.
store, fertilizer in there or something. I mean,
Just make
So,
it into a big outhouse.
If I remember correctly, though, 2 weeks ago, because he came before us 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he say the only other real place he could put this was in his front yard? In his front yard, that's where his kids play. So he didn't want to put it there, and the only other
well,
flat
aesthetically it would
spot.
look.
Yeah, you
Well,
wouldn't
I'm
want to put a
saying-
shed in your front yard.
Well, I'm trying to say, I think it was like, I remember him saying lawnmower or something.
I think
You
it
know,
was
he doesn't
lawnmower
want that.
kids bikes. I think it was lawnmower kids
Yeah,
bikes.
thank
I
you.
think
That's what I'm
it
trying to
was.
say, is I think
You're
he
right.
already told us.
All right.
He did tell him, it was
Yeah,
lawnmower
because he didn't
kids
want that.
bikes.
All right.
I know where it is.
Okay, I'm persuaded.
There you go.
I
All right.
am
Glad somebody
persuaded by
was
that
listening.
too. It's lawnmower kids bikes. He's not gonna
Okay.
be putting, you know.
All right, so
It's
is there a motion to reconsider the positive order of determination,
I make a motion
or positive determination?
that we reconsider this request and that we change the request from a positive to a negative determination based on the new information that we have. That
Okay.
It's going to be a temporary structure because it's on block and not on sonotubes.
Okay. Well, how about if we do it
Not on
this way?
sonotubes, it's on
No.
blocks.
It's on
Blocks.
blocks. It's on
It's
blocks.
going to be on blocks.
All right.
not
Sonotubes meaning it goes right into the ground.
How about this? The commission agrees to reconsider its decision and issue a negative determination of applicability based on the representations of the applicant that the structure will arrive or will be delivered in one piece, will be placed on cinder blocks and does not require any excavation. Using those criteria, the shed qualifies as a minor project.
It won't store hazardous materials.
Well, I'm not done yet.
Okay.
It qualifies as a minor project under the
Definitions.
definitions. Yeah, I know it's definitions.
In the regs.
Under the definitions contained in the Town of Auburn Wetlands Protection Regulations. Okay, I'm not done. So the applicant may not store any hazardous materials or other items that may have a negative impact on the wetland area.
Except for maybe gasoline? No? Because I mean,
Well, the
unless
lawnmower
you're
can
gonna
have
store...
gas in it.
I have
It's
a
not
snowblower
not
in
gonna
mine.
drain it every time.
No, I'm just saying,
I have a snowblower.
if he's got his lawnmower out there, he's probably gonna have a can of gas out there and not in his basement.
Right.
True.
I would rather have it in the shed outside than in my basement.
Well, we have a snowblower in ours, but we don't have,
The applicant
we have the gas engine.
will take steps to ensure that any gasoline stored in the shed will be in a proper receptacle,
Approved container.
and that fueling of any gas-powered equipment will take place a minimum of 10 feet away from the wetland area.
Ooh,
I like
yeah.
that. Look at that. That's good.
I like that.
Okay, I'm gonna need a whole new sheet.
That's
Okay,
okay.
run this baby.
It's okay, I like it.
Sorry.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I should have this okay, if not,
I
I can
second
just
that.
play it back.
Okay, and then
In yours? Oh, that's why. 'Cause it's level construction.
Okay, to
Yeah.
reconsider,
I
okay.
can show
You're
you
gonna
how
second
to do it from
that?
time to time.
Okay,
It's a shed.
Okay.
so we need to sign a,
is there, well, we have to approve it, right?
oh, okay.
Okay.
So that's
My motion
What
is
is
Tom's
it?
motion, Michelle seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed to vote?
All right.
Okay.
Okay,
And then,
15.
finally,
Here we go.
Mr. Daniels.
Wait, 7 bridle.
Now, what does he want?
So we had issued negative determination for him, right?
Yeah, take
Yeah.
my negative determination with that.
That's fine.
Okay.
What's that for?
I think we should just,
Because you changed the size, right?
Yeah.
yeah, so just send a
This
letter.
is, okay.
I would say send a letter to Mr. Daniels, just indicating that his request to change the size of his pool from a 12 by 12 or 12-foot round pool to a 12 by 20 has been granted. Should the applicant wish to install a deck, he will need to file a request for determination with the board.
Whatever else his wife wants.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, so he said the deck was gonna be between the pool and the
Yeah,
house.
I'm sure there'll be no
right.
issue.
So
I can see the
ultimately, he wouldn't need to come before us for the deck anyways, right? Because the edge of the pool's,
Wouldn't have to.
It's jurisdictional now.
Still a
You
jurisdiction.
should have filed it all together, which I said to him. I
Yeah.
said, are you putting a deck on?
And she
No.
added later.
Okay, you sure you're not putting a deck on?
He's still within.
It's right
He's just being
Even though
silly.
the pool, even though if the pool was
He's
there,
just- He's
still
just being
consider it-
silly.
Trying my
And
patience.
Well,
it's adjunct to.
He's
Yeah.
just being
The plan
silly.
showed us,
Essentially,
they have
even though that's
an outline of a
in
deck
between.
though.
The new plan,
Yeah.
right.
But no
But his
details.
condition
Right, right,
did-
they're just gonna put sonotubes
And
in,
It
settle on
wasn't
it.
part of
Yeah.
the original
And actually, it
plan.
seemed,
That's
it
all.
kind of seemed like it was
But
an
but that would
outline.
be beyond the 25
That's
feet.
why I asked you.
Yeah, no, but it's
Yeah, put it all in one.
Still
Now
within
we
the-
shall put
still
pins
within
in
the-
there.
okay,
Put
yeah.
it in.
So within the 50.
Whether you do it or not, put it in there.
That's true.
A cement pour tube, sonotube is a cement
Now-
pour tube.
Four
So they drill
Four
down,
frost lines,
He
so
should
put it in
put
a-
whether it was
the
gonna
cardboard
do it or not.
structure,
Yeah.
dump the
Alright.
cement in, makes
Okay,
the tube.
I always went on the end.
All right,
of it.
so-
Almost done.
Well, we are almost done. So my hope is that for FW Webb and 33 Sword Street, greater minds will come to an arrangement and that appeal will be dismissed. You know,
I like
we
them,
didn't,
too.
do you remember getting a copy of the letter or the notice of appeal? Because I haven't seen
I
it.
did.
I don't
You told me
remember
about it.
seeing
You,
but I have
yeah,
not
you
seen it.
emailed us about it, but I don't remember if you
I
attached the
remember
letter or
seeing
not.
Well, if I got a
I
letter,
think
I
I
usually
do
scan it
vaguely,
and send it.
I
I
do vaguely
didn't.
do remember.
Kind of like they call a
Something
lolly
came in when I
Couple makes
wasn't
them
there.
I think I
Yes, it
remember
did.
you saying,
I
I remember you
When I
saying.
wasn't there, and I
think I
must
do.
have emailed that to everybody.
I do remember
And
saying
I don't
That's all
know
it
why
is.
I
But it
don't
was
have
just
a
a-
copy of
it
it.
was
It's just a name for a tube
For
that
two.
you put in
was-
the ground.
It might have been
before
two.
it's
Because when
done.
he said about the
And
filing
it
date.
came in
I
a
do
file
remember-
folder like this.
I do remember saying it. And then like
You know why? Because I was on vacation when it
Yeah.
came in,
All right.
and Darlene was a
Yeah,
little
that's what I
upset that it was sitting on my desk.
That's why.
Because I scanned it and sent it to everybody.
Out there, so
So
we're gonna have to go to the
she's
back
in all my
Right.
emails. So she came in and said,
Do you-
what's up
Yeah, we've
here?
got
Do you remember when that was?
Sheila sent us the email on the 17th.
17th of what?
April.
April.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. I'll see if I can look for it. Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
we'll look for it. Okay, so let's just, we're not going to take action on that. Faith Avenue, Glenn's not here, we're not going to do anything with
Yeah.
that.
Quaker and Alfred Streets. what do we-
Mr. Quigley did file a request for determination.
Yes, he did.
So that's on our agenda for May 22nd.
Yep.
Still have not heard back from Megan Selby
Selby.
about 498 Rochdale Street. And if it's okay with everyone, I would defer action on the minutes because it's getting a little bit late.
We've been, there's been a couple nights.
And
Celtics losing?
and Carolyn and I are, I think they are. Carolyn and I are just tired.
I'm tired
That's
too.
fine.
Me too,
Next
next last
meeting.
night was, I'm going to bed.
Actually, Celtics are leading 19-18.
That's rough.
I got it on tape.
Oh,
They had a lead for most of the
so
last
are we
game, too.
adjourning?
We are
Well,
adjourning, wait, oh,
Hold it.
okay.
Is there a motion? I know you're waiting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make
So
a
moved.
motion that we adjourn.
Wow, that was quick. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Verbatim.
Aye.
Opposed to vote.
I think it was